I timed it badly again. I misread 5 minutes 43 seconds as 5 minutes, so I apologize for that. But anyways, between the streams I did get radar working because I felt like it would be silly to continue from where we left off, with me murdering my brain cells on that. So, I guess I should explain what the problem was. So I'm just going to switch the code real quick. Start the server. So yeah, as you can see, the radar is working. So then, problem before was, if I can find the code, here, this formula was wrong. This was c dot height, but it should be c dot width. So that was pretty bad. I'm having a bit of streaming issues. Give me a second. Okay. There we go. So as you can see, it is working. Although it might be hard to see where the radar is being drawn, unfortunately. But it is being drawn properly. So now we want the radar to draw the position of the things on the other things on the screen, the radar objects. So I guess let's start that. And we should probably rename enemies to radar objects. Ah. Let's just do a Control F and replace them. Okay. So that should have the exact same result. And that's what it seems to do, which is good. So now we need to send the thing that calculates the radar values of radar objects. So radar objects. Yes, that's correct. And we need to, when we send it the, where is it? It's up here. So when we send it, when we tell it we want to calculate the radar, we need to send it the radar objects. And then we need to, then when it receives a message, we again need to send it the radar objects. Okay, So now the thing that calculates the radar array knows where radar objects are. So now we need to actually draw them. So we would need to do a loop. So for I equals 0, I is listen radar objects.length I++. Okay, so that should do a loop for every radar object. So we would need to, hold on. We should probably rename this variable. Okay, so that should allow us to access the radar signal. It should return from outside this if statement. So we want to add to the radar the distance to the radar object. Yeah, that would be .x. And radar objects .y. And then it should be to where the x and y are currently. And we would also want the inverse of this. So it will get lower the farther away it is. And this should also probably be 0.1, because we want it to be at most 1. So this should already be working. We would just have to fine-tune the values. Okay, it doesn't seem to be working. Actually, no, it does seem to be working. Never mind. So we do need to fine-tune the values, that's for sure. So I think it'd be good to divide this so the radar cross-section will be bigger, so you can see it better on the radar. Okay, so if I were to where is it? Okay. So if I were to prevent the enemies being drawn, you'd still be able to get an idea for where they are. But like, not a very good idea for where they are, clearly. You'd have to be looking very closely. So I think it would probably be good if the radar cleared itself every once in a while. wait, no. I would need this. Okay, so if the rotation of the radar beam is less than, although that would have to be modulus math.pi times 2. And if that is less than some small value, I don't know, 0.05, then we clear the screen. See how this looks. Okay, that doesn't seem to be working right. So what's the issue there? I think I have an idea. I think we would also have to update the radar data and pixels. So the same radar data that was drawn before doesn't get redrawn. No, I forgot to switch back to the code. That's not good. Sorry about that. Anyways, see if this works. Okay, just seems to be getting darker and darker. So I think what we can do about that is doing radar dot clear rect, then 0, 0, c dot width, c dot height. So that should just delete all the image data, and then add a rectangle on top of that, instead of just adding semi-transparent rectangles on top of each other, making it darker and darker. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, it's not, but it worked there, and there. So I think we're having some order of operations problems, some issues. So I guess modulus happens before multiplication. And we'd also probably want to set this to a higher value. Okay, that does seem to be drawing it to the screen. So that's good. And we would also want we'd also want the signal to be reduced if by the radar cross-section. So here we can say radar objects index I dot radar cross-section. Is that what I called it? Yes. And then we would want to divide this by 10, because I think the radar cross-section is between 0 and 1. And it would also probably be good if they weren't like as spread out. So right now the radar signals are being blocked pretty hard by the mountains. Might be good to draw the enemies again for testing purposes. So yeah, it's easier to recognize the radar when you can see the enemies, that's for sure. So you can definitely see there is one here that I think is now here and here. So that's good and seems to be working. Might also be good if there are a bit more radar lines being drawn. So if I reduce that to 4, then the radar beam will be a bit slower, but it will increase. I mean, it'll spin slower, but there will be more lines to see, so you can see better. Okay, this is a super wacky interface. I think I'm going to put the code to ask for another radar thing in here. So it will draw radar as fast as it can, basically. And we would also need to define radar rotation. And we'd also want to remove it from here. And add it here. Ah, right. This will never be called if we don't ask for radar at least once somewhere. So I think it would be good to do it here. Okay, it's broken now. Ah, that's because I am doing this before I start the web worker, which is bad. Okay, it's still not working. Let's see if there are any errors. There are no errors. That's worrying. Okay. Maybe if I were to move this even more. Okay, it's still not working. Ah, that is because I'm using this dot. This should actually be player dot. And this should just be radar rotation. And this should also be player dot. Okay, now I have to do it up here too. Okay, there we go. It is certainly drawing a whole lot faster now, which is good. Because that means we can increase this radar rotation number, or I guess decrease it, so we can see more lines. Okay, so yeah, you can clearly see there's an enemy here. Except you can't clearly see it anymore because there are mountains blocking the way. But if I was to go on top of an ocean, then you'd be able to see more stuff more clearly. Like there's a bunch of enemies around me right now. I think we should increase the radar rotation. It can get pretty slow sometimes. So yeah, you can clearly see there's one here, following me, and one here, and here. So this is very good. So I guess we should add some of the gameplay. Guess the question is what to add first. Maybe missiles to shoot the player. So we would need a missile class that extends a radar object the constructor needs an X, Y, and target X and target Y. So, and also a radar cross-section. Although I guess we don't need this, we can predefine it. So need to do super of with x and y and the radar cross section of like maybe 0.5. Wait, no. So then we need to say this dot x equals x, this dot y equals y, this dot target x equals target x, and this dot target y equals target y. And we need a show function. And this also needs a rotation value. I guess we can just call this the angle from the position it's starting at to the target position. So y minus ty and x minus tx. So now it gets a bit tricky because we need it to be possible for the missile to be distracted by other radar objects. So we would need it to change the target x and target y depending on the strongest radar signal it gets. So I guess what we can do is we actually can give this a name thing, and so that would be message.dataIndex 7, and for these, the name would be, I don't know, radar screen, and this would also be radar screen. And we would only ever want this to draw to the screen if the name is draw screen, or I guess radar screen, never mind. So I believe this would have an index of 7. So if that is radar screen, then we do all this drawing stuff. So then what that allows us to do is say for let I equals 0, I is less than 3, so this will loop 3 times, I plus plus. And then we can take this and stick it in here, but give it a different name. Like, I don't know. I guess we should have a list of, I guess having a list of missiles would be nice. Then, actually I don't think we need that. Might be wrong here. However, we would need some sort of ID that gets incremented whenever we add a radar object. And we would also have to give every radar object an ID. So that should give every radar that exists its own ID that we can use. And then we can just pass for a label its ID. And I guess this could, instead of being a show function, a target update function. But that also means we need another show function. And then this would need to be a list of values. So data 1, data 2, and data 3. And then we would need to check through each of the datas to see what the strongest radar output thing is, and then reset the target to that position. Except it should also be some distance from the target X and Y. And also, while we're doing this, we would have to add the player to the list of radar objects, because we'd want it to be possible for them to target the player, because that's sort of the point. So I guess we can do dot concat for concatenate, and I should probably look up how the concat function works. Whoops, spelled that wrong. Doesn't matter. Okay, so it takes another array, which I expected, but I wasn't sure. So we want to have this be the player. And we should also move the radar object class to the beginning, and have the player inherit from the radar object. And if we do that, we can get rid of this.x and y, since it's already up here. Except we do have to call the super function. Then this will have a radar cross-section of 1. And then the missile can also not have the x and y for the same reason as the player doesn't have to have it. And we should also probably give this a show function. So can do a begin path and pinch this code. Also wherever the points are being calculated, which is here. I have to scroll to the end. Then I can copy this, and that would also be good to comment out. And then I can stick this here. And then uncomment this. And we should now be able to see any missiles we have on the screen. And we would also want to make this, instead of radar rotation, this dot R. Except we would also want to make it different depending on which eye it is. So you can say I minus 1 times, or I guess divided by 10 or something. Okay, so now we need to actually check which of the data is the closest and has the highest value. So I guess we can say data's is data1 dot concat data2 dot concat data3. So that should generate a list of all the radar data that was generated. So now you can loop through this. So for let I equals 0, I is less than data is dot length I plus plus. So then I guess we can say that if data's index I index 0, which should be the x value, I'm just going to make sure. No, that is the radar value. Good, I checked. The x value is 1. So if that is minus the target x is less than maybe terrain width over 100 maybe, and it is greater than the opposite of that, and the y value minus the ty is less than the terrain height. Oops. So you can copy that. And if it's greater than the opposite, that should check if it is in a square around the target x. So if it is in a square, we can say let max value equals some array that is all zeros, because any positive number, which the radar values are greater than 0, anyways, and I guess we can add this also to the end of the big list. So I don't know whether to stick this at the beginning or end. Maybe the beginning. So I guess if data's index I index 0 is greater than max value index 0, and it's in the box, then we can say that max value equals the data's index I index 0. So I guess we need to create a missile object and test this. So let's do radar objects dot push, and that will be a new missile. I spelled missile wrong. So that can be at maybe 500, 500. And then the target X is 100, 100, which is where the player is. Oh, and we also need to give it the radar data when it gets sent back. So you need to say else for let I equals 0, I is less than radar objects dot length I plus plus. And then actually I think there might be a better way. So let to give equal radar objects dot filter. So I'm just going to look up the filter function real quick. Okay, so that would be good. Although I'm not sure. Actually, I don't think this will help. I'm just going to do the loop. So if the radar objects index I dot ID equals the name, so message.data index 7, then we'll send them actually this wouldn't work. So you need so you need this dot radar datas equals 0. Well, an array, I mean. The problem is this function receives one set of radar data at a time, but the target update accepts 3. So what we would have to do is have another function, which would be, I don't know, get radar value, and then data, and then stick it in the radar datas list. So this dot radar datas dot push data, and then we would need to say if this dot radar, where is it? Radar datas dot length equals 3. Then we call this dot target update. So if we've been given 3 sets of radar data, then we call this function. So then we can, so what we have to do is I'm just going to copy this. Okay, so that should work. So then we would do radar objects index I, dot, what did I just call the function? Get radar value. And then we would send the message.data index 6. Oh, and we also have to have it draw the, or do we? Hold on. No, never mind. That's being done in here. Okay, let's try this. See how many errors we get. Can't access ID before initialization, line 20. So ID is here. And the player is created here. So this needs to be done after. Okay. Okay, X is not defined, Object.js 87. This dot X, this dot Y. Wait a minute. Hold on. I believe that X is actually meant to be, X and Y here are meant to be the sine and cosine values that I like to pre-calculate here. So let's just stick that here. Okay, there it is. He's not moving though, which I guess is to be expected. But I guess the question is target update being called? Actually, it can't be. We need to run this code up here once it's initialized. Okay. Can't access terrain generator before initialization. So this needs to be this needs to be down here. Okay. Target X is not defined. And that is on line 209. Okay. That should be this dot and this dot and this dot and this dot. There we go. Okay, it's not doing anything. Wonder why that would be. Is target update being called? Actually, I know it's being called. I got an error in that function. So we would need to update the R based on what the TX is. And we would also have to change the TX based on what the max value is. So this should be this dot TX equals max value index 1, and this dot TY should be max value index 2. Okay, it's still not updating. Okay, this should be this dot Y and this dot X. And it's still not updating. Okay, TY is not defined. Okay, more this dots. Okay, now it's just broken. So what is this dot R? I'm going to console.log that. And it's not a number. Okay. It's console.log max value. Infinity. Okay. That doesn't seem right. I think this might help, though. Oh, I think I see the issue. If I go to the terrain.js, then... Hold on. Where is it? Ah, here it is. Then if the distance between one of the objects is 0, then we would have a divide by 0 error, which is not good. So I guess we can fix this by saying math.max. Actually, no, that should be min. So the minimum of this value and 0.1. So that should work better. Which it seems to be doing. However, again, it's still not updating. And also, it seems to have only called the function once, which is not helpful. I'm just going to have it console.log some stuff. So that ID does make sense. Anyways, why did it only call once? I am passing the ID in. Well, for run, I think this should be this.x and this.y. And also this should be its own altitude. Maybe 0.2. Then it is sending its own ID. I wonder why it's freezing a bunch. That's super weird. Oh, I get it. I need to reset the radar data's list. So I need to set the radar data's back to an empty array. Okay, that is much better. However, all the outputs are just the default output, which is not good. I'm also going to have it stop logging the IDs so it doesn't murder the screen. Okay. So what do I do about that? So from what I could tell, it seemed to break when I reset the radar datas, so maybe I can do that at the end. Okay, what's the... Oh no. It seems to be deleting values on top of me. That is weird. Okay. So I can't see the first value, which would be helpful. Okay. Okay, what did it change the tx and ty to? So it seems to have set it to 100 once, and now it's staying at 0, 0. Maybe we should move that to before we ask for the radar information. Okay, same result. This is weird. Maybe I have to make these radar beams spread out a bit more. I feel like that shouldn't be the issue, though. Okay, I've changed the default max value. What if I set it to negative infinity instead of 0? Okay, same thing. The annoying thing is it works fine once, but not again. I'm going to look in the debugger. Okay, so the code is stopped. So what is the data's? Oh, okay. The list, all of them are one log, which is weird. It's not what it's supposed to be. I'm going to try reloading once. Then there's datas again. Looks pretty reasonable. Wait a minute. This should be this.x, this.y, this.r is correct. That should be 0.2. So the data's list is a whole lot longer again. That's very strange. I'm just going to try resetting the default x and y to no and no. So that way I can say if max value index 1 does not equal no, then we can reset the t, x, and y. Otherwise, it'll just stay the same. Let's try this. So I think the radar of the sky is being blocked by mountains, which I guess makes sense. So let's initialize them closer to the player. Maybe 200, 200. He's certainly closer. And should be able to see the player. But again, he's not changing. His view can't be blocked by the mountains, since my view can go through the mountains there. So I'm going to try setting a breakpoint. I don't know, here. And oh, where is it? That is the trained.js. So the wrong one. So I'm just going to remove this and put it in its own if statement. So then we can also console.log the data's index I at that point if it's inside. Okay, it didn't work. It's not console.logging anything. I guess that means it might be an issue with detecting whether it's in the proper area. So I guess let's try looking at this again. What is train width over 100? Let's look. Oh no. Apparently I didn't copy and paste right. It is 14.3. I think that it would be good if that was bigger. So let's maybe set this to 25. 25. And 25. And 25. Where is it? Oh, never mind. Let's try this. Okay, I'm gonna set a breakpoint there, and I'm going to step through it one by one, just to see what's going on. So what is this value here? It is 100. What is data's index, index 1? It is 200. Okay. So that is 100 away. So it should be stopped there, which is what it does. Then let's do the same thing. Come on. Surely we can find something a bit more interesting here. Okay, I don't think this is going to be all that helpful. Let's look at what is in the datas. Is there anything close to 100, 100? Looks like there isn't. The radar ray seems to be going the wrong way. So I guess an easy way to fix that would be adding math.pi to this, and also to this. And let's remove the breakpoint and try again. Oh, it's so slow. That's not good. However, it is pointing at the player. At least that's what it looks like. But why is it so slow? Okay, it's probably the console.log functions. Okay, let's try this again. But it now seems to be taking a while for the radar thing to draw. So that's not good. Because you want to be able to see, I'd presume. So what can I do about that? Is there any way to make this function faster? Well, first of all, this is wrong. You want to round the x and y, not the whole value. Someone's car alarm is going off. Okay, never mind. Oh yeah, that is so much better. Not the speed, but the blocking, but being blocked by mountains. That does mean we have to adjust this number a bit. The amount that the mountains block radar. But that is very good. Should probably reduce this even more. Oh yeah. That is fantastic. But it's not faster. I'm just looking at this function here. So this needs to be proportional to power. Anyways, we now have a missile capable of following the player by radar, which is awesome. It also means it can be distracted by radar. So if I was to go past these mountains, it would have a lot of trouble following me now. I presume, at least, which is what we're seeing. Which is good. So now what we can do is make it move to where it's pointing at. So we can just say this dot x plus equals x and this dot y plus equals y. So now the missile dude should be able to move. Okay, it's broken. That's not good. Ah. So what can I do about that? I guess what I can do is recalculate the R based on the current position. Although, that wouldn't help. Because I don't believe this dot R is being used up here anywhere. Why is it doing that? That's weird. Maybe it's somehow being distracted by its own radar signal, which would be pretty weird. And also kind of funny. So I guess we can check if the type of the ID thing, I'll just pass that in here. So if the type of the ID is a number, and the radar object's index I equals the ID. Actually, I don't even need to check if it's a number. And also I have to check if it's not equal to the ID. Then it will add to the radar signal. So that means the object won't add to the radar signal if the object asking for the radar signal is it's kind of hard to explain. It won't pick up its own radar signal, is what I'm trying to say. So let's see if that helps at all. Okay, it doesn't look like it. It's being distracted by something else. Or my code is to prevent it from seeing its own radar signal is broken. That's also possible. It's definitely not a fluke, that's for sure. I guess I was planning on adding this code anyways, but we need to take the angle to turn code from the enemy object and stick it in here. So now we can set an angle to turn. So we should probably set this to the angle to turn. Also, we need to set this. We would also need to set the angle to turn equal to the R when we start. Oh, this is so bad. It's trying to follow me. Kinda. Okay, it's distracted by another signal. Probably this mountain stuff. Anyways, in real life, missiles like hardly turn all that much at all, so I guess that would be the case for this one too. I guess that's a good way to dodge it. And missiles also move fast in real life, so we can like do times 5 times 5. There we go. I guess that kind of works. Anyways, we have been going for like an hour 30 minutes or so now, so I think I'll stop now and continue next time.